but the skin just comes right off, comes off really nicely on these, and you can just pull it off with your fingers. Just slips right off. Okay, now on these, this one has a little crack in it, but this one's being a little, these have been a little more difficult. Use your ripest tomatoes. The skins will come off more easily with a riper tomato. Okay, this one's pulling right off. All right, so what I want to do is take this larger jar and pack the tomatoes into that. Okay, now one thing, before you screw the lid onto this, we'll get to this, but you want to have this surface of the jar, you want to have this surface clean. Okay, you know, obviously I'm going to put these tomatoes in here and won't be able to make sure while I'm doing that these are perfectly clean. I'll press them down just a little bit. Okay, now these tomatoes are not, they're not real juicy. See a little bit of the liquid in here? You can see that there's a little liquid in there. But what I'm going to have to do with these is I'm going to have to add a little bit of water to make sure that they're covered. They have to be covered with liquid, okay? And since, see the bubbles? Make sure that the liquid is covering your tomatoes well. You know, get all the bubbles. What I'm going to do is take a little bit of lemon juice and I'm going to squeeze some lemon into here. Just to keep, just to be sure that since I added some water, I reduced the amount of acid in the tomatoes just a little bit. So I add some lemon juice, okay? At this point you can add some salt or not. It's up to you, okay? You can also, something that I don't generally do because I like my tomatoes whole, but you can take, you see this, you can take that right out of there. You can just take and cut this stem, this thing right out of here. I like to keep it because it holds the tomato together, okay? So that's why I have that in there. And then you take a clean cloth, wipe the lip of the jar, okay? You get your cover, make sure you screw it down tight, okay? And now this is ready for the water bath process. Okay, I'm going to do this and the peaches. I'll cook these at the same time, but this, now the next step is that I put this in boiling water and boil it for 20 minutes, a half hour. The thing with this elevation is that water boils at a lower temperature, so you want to make sure that this gets cooked, and you can do it for a half hour. At sea level, we used to do it for 20 minutes, you know, boil it. Once it comes back to a boil, then you let it cook for about a half an hour. You could even do 40 minutes. You can't, it's really not a concern that you're going to overcook those. Okay, now we have the peaches, okay? The peaches, skins are coming right off nicely. Okay? It's pretty easy for these guys. So what I want to do is I take a smaller jar. I'm going to take these peaches and cut them into quarters. Hopefully these will come off. Oh, nice. Nice, to come right off, okay? Put these in a jar. Okay, so peel these guys. If you ever have any doubts that your canning process wasn't right, if your jars, you think, well, I don't know, I don't trust the seal on them, or if someone gives you jars with lids, you know, generally I just take the lids and throw them away. Okay, this is separating out nicely. Okay, what I'm doing when I pack these in there, well, I'll show you. Just pack them loosely, okay, nicely in there. I think I can get Well, looks like maybe one more piece in there. Okay, good. Now I've got them packed. There's some space in here. Okay, so what I'm going to need to do is make a light syrup. Okay, I'll take this, just wipe the lip of this off. Okay, so I have sugar, about a half a cup of sugar, water, equal amounts, actually just enough. I'll just use, okay. So what I'm going to do is make a light syrup and fill this. This needs to be liquid. You can't have this empty space with air in it. You need to fill it up with liquid. Okay, so I take and make this syrup, and I will take, here's my lemon. Okay, I'll take juice of half a lemon and put that in there. Once again, you know, I want to keep the acid content of this fairly high. Okay, okay, so now I have, this is the hot water bath. Okay, boiling water is all it is. Now this, I put the tomatoes in, and I do not have enough water. So what you want to do, in fact, okay, my water has boiled away, but it's all right. This is for demonstration. I have enough for this, and we'll actually, there, now I have enough water. Okay, so this goes in half hour from now. I'll take that out, and then I'll pull out the tomatoes and make sure when I pull out the jar, I'll make sure that the lid is tight. Okay, then I set it aside to cool. And usually what I'll do is I'll test the seals the next day. Okay, when they're cooled down to room temperature, I test each of the lids, and like I showed you with the lid, you know, if it seals, then I don't worry, I put it on the shelf. If it doesn't seal, then I have a choice. I can use those tomatoes right then, or just throw them out. You never mess around with something that's canned, and if you don't get a good seal on it, don't try to use it. Okay, this is just coming to a boil. What I want to do is make sure that the sugar is dissolved in the water, that it's boiling. Okay, I don't need to reduce this to make a syrup like if I was making an icing. I don't need to do that. Okay, so this is good. Now I take my syrup and I pour it over the peaches. Okay, just to the top. Okay, make sure that the lid of my jar is clean. I want to have that clean. Okay. I'll seal that. Make sure that's sealed well. And I put it into my hot water bath. Okay? And I'll just cover that up. And I let that cook for 30 minutes. Okay? Once my 30-minute timer goes off, I take it off the stove, set it aside to cool, make sure the lids are nice and tight, and then we'll see what the results are. And then I'll have some peaches in December that came off of my own tree. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to process these, and I'm going to come back and we'll find out, and we'll see how the seal sealed, how it worked out. Okay? Okay, now I've got my peaches and my tomatoes cooking. You can hear them boiling. And next thing I want to do is make some applesauce. Okay, so I made a little bit of preparation ahead of time. I've got some apples that I cut in half and I cooked. Okay, with a little bit of water. All right, and I also have here one of my favorite things in the fall is a Victoria strainer. All right, and this thing is great because what it does is it has a like a screw inside of here Okay, and